like right now I'm looking between two frames and thinking about adding an in-between. So here on this animation I have of Danny Boy from Galaxy Boys, I have frame 2 where his hands are down, and then frame 3 where his hands are crossed. And then actually when it goes to frame 4, they're back down again. So I can add an in-between here. So I'll go ahead and create an in-between. I could either copy my image and try to use the lasso to move the things around, or I could just create a brand new frame and draw an in-between. So I'll try drawing an in-between. Turn the onion skin back on. Could kind of zoom in. And right here, as I mentioned with some of my students before, sometimes seeing these onion skins can be kind of messy and a little confusing. So what I realize is you don't need to always have it on. You can just draw enough so that your you kind of have the basic shape and proportions of what you want, and then turn it off and just kind of scrub through your animation to match it, you know? So this is an example right here. Kind of drawing the in-between of the arm. Now, red is the past, green is the future. So I'm going to draw the arm in between there. So I'm showing the arm maybe starting to open up and turn, and just being very rough with it. And I like being rough because I have ways of being able to fix it. So I like being able to just freely create and then go into editing, fixing mode next. So it's mainly just the arms that I'm animating. So I could have copied the rest of the body, but you just do as much as you can of it, just very rough. And then you could turn the onion skin off once you don't need it any longer. So yeah, this is mostly the same. Seems like the head does maybe turn upward a little bit. All right, and now let's turn the onion skin off. Need to finish drawing it though. Okay, so let's just say that that is enough. Okay. So there's obviously difference here in some parts. But now I can just kind of scroll between them and just notice the differences. You know, like here, the hat kind of grows a little bit. So I have to look at kind of what's the overall main. So here, the hat is bigger than it is kind of anywhere else in the animation. So probably be easier for me just to select the hat and shrink it down. And the other thing is his face shape kind of changes. In frame 4, his face is a little more round. So I can get my eraser tool. Let's see how big that is. Maybe make it just a little bit bigger. And then just lightly kind of erase over it and look at kind of the frames around it and just redraw his face a little more narrower. And And so sometimes it seems a little bit confusing to think about, how do I get my animation to look consistent? But I think you just animate and then you look back and forth and make adjustments. So I like to compare it to sculpting sometimes. Instead of feeling like it needs to be perfect right off the bat, you kind of just go back and forth and then just refine as you go. So anyways, yep. All right. Sometimes you could reuse things. So I can reuse frame number 3 that I drew and maybe put in between 4 and 5. Copy. Paste after. All right, let's see what that did. Play it. So it's getting smoother. And then any of these things, whenever there's too many lines going on, like right here, I like to get my eraser tool, have the kind of light eraser, maybe around 75% opacity, have it pretty big, and just lightly erase, but not completely, over my drawing. And then I can go back and start refining what I want in here. Alrighty. So we're just about done here for this lesson. As I say, I'll just kind of make it rough, and then I can always go back and adjust if I need to. All right. So I could just continue to kind of mold it until it looks the way that I want. And it's helpful because I already do have a little bit of a visual memory of how, a fist should kind of look like. So that helps me part of the way, but could always use reference if you need to. I think action figures are pretty good to use, and then sometimes you just have a little bit of a sense if it looks weird or not. So, in this case, maybe I could just copy and paste this hand. Copy, paste, and then flip it. If I'm doing a rough animation, this is probably fine. make this forearm a little bit bigger. All right. And I actually had this for 2 frames here. So what I'll do is I'll copy this, paste after, and I will delete this one. And this one actually is the same too. But what I think is, in order to make it change a little bit, I will take this and I'll use my lasso tool to slightly change. So frame 7. So I think here I will kind of adjust this, maybe bring his arms down a little bit with the lasso tool. And I can change it more later. But his arms will be a little bit lower. Let's see. Okay, that's probably enough. I also feel like maybe this arm is slightly longer than the other. Okay, so see there. So, could always play with it. Maybe this one might benefit from bending the arms a little bit. And maybe I should have him squat a little bit less in this pose.